podcast studios. This is After 9 with Scott and Kat.
Hey now. Day number...
Hello.
Hi, Kat.
Oh, sorry. Hi, friends. Hi.
It's day 2 in the wrong studio. We must have really screwed that thing up.
Apparently, someone's coming to... I don't even know. They might have to take down the whole station just to reboot it again. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but we still have jobs today, so that's nice.
Yeah, I think it's really just because a lot of management's on vacation early for the long weekend. We'll probably be done by Tuesday, I would think. Well, hey, listen. Hi, everybody. We're coming to you again from a different studio because of the incident yesterday. And if you missed that, go back and listen to yesterday's After 9 podcast. We plugged in a space heater when we weren't supposed to do that, but we had to. It was 62 degrees Fahrenheit in here. What would you do?
And there is an update on that, by the way, because our lovely engineers, they did finally get to turning the furnace on and making that switch, like a lot of people do, whether it happens instantly in your house or you have to actually manually switch it to the furnace on. And then it became a little hot in here, oddly enough. So now it's warm. But here we are, friends. We'll be back in the podcast studio, I think, in time for our Friday episode in which Dave Blizzard is joining us.
Yeah, that's a good
question mark.
It's a good question. I don't even know if Dave knows, to be honest with you.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll all find out together tomorrow.
Let's get to it here. 3 million homes and businesses across Florida are without power as we record after Hurricane Milton cut through Florida yesterday from west to east, and it's going out into the Atlantic now, but it did a heck of a lot of damage. The sun, only up for a few hours now. They don't even know the full extent of how bad it is, but I did watch it last night. And again, I found myself wondering, how does a news organization like CNN still, in this day and age, send reporters out into the middle of a Cat 5 hurricane? Here's Anderson Cooper from last night.
Fascinating about covering these hurricanes. Everyone is different. I mean, you look at it on a map, and being on the ground, it's so interesting how quickly things shift. Just in the last 2 minutes before we came back from break, suddenly the Manatee River is now churning. We had seen some white caps on some water, but I mean, these are now these are now waves churning on the Manatee River, and the water is really starting to come over. I mean, you can see it now just running. This is all water, both from the river and also water coming from higher ground from this rain, which has just been coming down, obviously.
Okay, I think that's
for
good.
Much of the day. But this is the first time we've really, I don't know, Neil, if you can even...
Yeah. Anderson, what are you doing? It's a Cat 5 hurricane. Why are you standing outside? CNN did nothing for days but tell people, evacuate, heed the warnings of emergency officials and legal people. You've got to get out of the way. Why are you standing there? It sets a terrible example, and dude, you could have been killed.
Money. I mean, we all know the answer. Money. The networks want the money. He wants the money. He gets paid well to do it. He has sat through many of these hurricanes before. Any disaster strikes, and Anderson's probably their first phone call they make. No doubt at all, right? Everyone knows that. He could turn it down. He chose to do it. Is it dangerous? Yeah, absolutely. I could not believe yesterday there was a lot of cameras that were just facing the ocean, basically, all along this whole stretch of Florida that was facing the hurricane. And it was amazing how many times people pulled up in cars just to watch, to be there, kind of like Anderson did. But you can't blame Anderson for that or anything or anyone else for that matter. That's a stupid decision. That's a dumb move.
I just think it sets a terrible example, you know? I mean, they spend all those days saying, don't go out there and get out of the city because it's going to be dangerous. And then not only does this news crew with Anderson Cooper not heed their own advice, they stood outside in the middle of it. They had to break away a few times because so much debris was flying through the air and it was really dangerous. The anchor on CNN, I forget who it was, actually had to tell Anderson a few times, hey, you should get to safety. We'll come back to you. This isn't safe right now. Please make sure that you're okay. We'll come back. You don't need to be on right now. Even the anchor was telling him, this is not a good idea. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, we need people like Anderson in a hurricane so that we know what's going on. You need the camera in a situation like that. Anderson could have been anywhere on earth and narrated that. He didn't need to be standing out in the rain. Even a Courtyard Marriott has got a covered little vestibule area when you pull up stand under that so you're not getting pelted with rain at 200 kilometers an hour.
I think he wants to do it, though, is the thing. I don't
Does he
think
get off on that stuff?
I think he likes it. I think he likes being able to say that he is the go-to guy for as long as he can possibly do it. I mean, I'm surprised. He's got a family and stuff like that too, right? Does he not?
He does.
Like, I was surprised that since he started having a family, they continued to do it because it is dangerous. It does put him in a dangerous position. But I think it is for the sake of being able to say, I'm Anderson Cooper and I'm that person that did it. And look at me in the course of history, how many times I stood in front of hurricanes for you. It kind of works in his favor in that way. As much as I totally agree, it's dangerous. But again, money comes into play because those ratings are going to be out through the roof.
I'm curious to see what the ratings are like. I mean, it was big night in the NHL. There was all kinds of things going on. Politics is crazy. They're less than a month away from the U.S. election. And I'll bet you probably 80 million people were watching that hurricane hit Florida last night.
Mm-hmm.
It did take part of the roof off of the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium, Tropicana Field.
Mm-hmm.
That's all right. They're a terrible baseball team anyway. You should just kick them out of Major League Baseball. All in all, it seems like the storm surge was not as high as they said it could be. They said 15 feet. It didn't get that high. However, still a lot of damage. I don't even know what they're going to find once they start going through. But I hope that we have dispatched some people to go down there. I'm also hoping that we didn't wait until today to say, oh, wow, there's a lot of people without power in Florida. We should send down some Hydro One workers. We knew this was coming. We should have had a whole fleet of Hydro One workers parked somewhere in West Virginia just ready to move into Florida today once the storm is out of the way. So here's hoping we get things back on track because, people want to go to Disney World.
Shout out to Taylor Swift, too, who just donated $5 million. Like, that's not a small amount of money. Yes, she's like net worth billionaire status. However, I thought that was really nice. She did that for food banks who are going to be delivering food and already helping with the aftermath of Helene. Now also the aftermath of Milton. There's a lot of people that are helping out. And obviously, I like to see that Ontario is helping out too. That's great.
A couple other things we want to get to in this episode of After 9. Are your kids into Crocs?
They live in Crocs in the summer.
Really?
Live in them.
I just discovered how good Crocs are. At first, I thought they were stupid. Now, I love them. You can just slide your feet in and go wherever your heart wants to. The problem is, one of America's leading podiatrists is suggesting that actually we shouldn't be wearing Crocs as much as we do because they're damaging our feet. And I'd be willing to bet that once I tell you what these Crocs are doing to your feet, nobody is going to change what they're doing. Everybody will continue wearing Crocs because they're that good.
I mean, they're saying it about Crocs, but it's no different than flip-flops. Those aren't great for you either. People do that or throwing slacks on or whatever the heck you want to call them. All of that stuff is not necessarily great for your feet. High heels aren't great for your feet. I think the key is to probably not live in one kind all the time, but that could be true for a lot of shoes that are comfortable too, right? It's that doesn't scare me. I'll still let my kids wear it because it's also easy. And they're cute on kids with the little gibbets. Do you have any gibbets on your Crocs?
No.
Would you get one?
No.
Stop it. You wouldn't get a fox gibbet? Or if I gave you a fox gibbet, you wouldn't put it in there?
Not if you
you're
paid
no fun.
me.
You're no fun.
I drew the
Boring.
line at the gibbets. This podiatrist who treats kids and teenagers says she's seeing issues that come from wearing Crocs all day, every day. Structural issues like heel and arch pain and more hammer toes. Ew.
Hammer toe?
She says it's because you have to grip the shoe to keep them on, and so the toes are overworking, and that can also lead to blisters and things like that.
Is that if you don't have the strap on at the back? I don't know what it's actually called. Like, my kids always have the strap on the back. You know what I mean? But you can flip it to the front.
So you make them put it into the sport mode then?
I don't make it. That's actually just their natural way that they like to wear it, I guess.
Oh, no, I just like sliding into them. I don't even know if I've ever used that little strap at the back, and that's a good question. Is there a name for
I
that?
was going to say they run a lot, though. There's a difference. I wouldn't run in Crocs.
Oh, yeah, I don't do
they
that
run
at
in
all.
theirs.
Not at all.
I would not do it. By the way, I think that they're getting me that for Christmas.
Crocs?
Yeah.
Are you going to wear them?
I would wear them in the backyard. So we're getting the swim spa put in. So we all should have swim spa shoes, right? We figure, right? You got to have the shoes ready at the back door.
Sure.
I think that's what they're getting me because they were kind of onto it. Like, Mommy doesn't have any, but these would be good for the backyard. I think I know my Christmas gift.
Don't do that.
Don't do
you
what?
sit there and wait to be wowed on Christmas
I will
morning.
be, but I think that they're not. They're very obvious. They're very obvious. Even my husband was like, oh, yeah, mommy would like the pink ones. And then give me a look like, oh, you're going to buy them, aren't you?
Have we actually talked about the fact yet on the pod that you're getting a swim spa installed?
I don't know, but
I don't think so.
Literally happening right now as we record this podcast. My neighbors are not liking me, I'm sure, because there is a big crane that has just arrived and is blocking many driveways.
Whoops. Yeah, it sucks for the neighbors when we get stuff done like that.
And for those who are wondering, what the heck is a swim spa? Because that's like a question I've had many times when I talk to people about it. It is, it's like a pool meets a hot tub. It is, we got like a long, like 18-footer by 10-footer-ish. And in the summer, it runs as a pool. Or you can run it as a hot tub. You can warm it to whatever temp you want. And then in the winter, it runs as a hot tub. You warm it up there, too.
You must be pumped.
I'm so excited.
Are you going to spend a lot more time outside in the winter now? Are you planning on it once you fill that thing in hot tub mode?
Me and my Crocs.
Good for you. Good for you.
And my robe.
Do you have a fairly private backyard, or do you have to worry about nosy neighbors and stuff like that?
Nothing behind me at all. My neighbors to the right and left are all both very, very nice. So I don't have any worries there.
Will you let neighbors use your swim spa?
I mean, yeah, when we're there, like I wouldn't probably be like, well, we're leaving for a week. Feel free to use it. Because, things can go wrong. Maybe.
And people do stuff in tubs when they think they're alone.
Sure.
I had a Scott tub for years.
Yeah.
It was a lot of nonsense.
Yeah. Luckily, my neighbor does have a hot tub on one side. The other one doesn't, but I don't know if they'd be the type to ask. My sister-in-law does want dibs on it when we're away. She's already asked multiple times.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense.
Fine.
You'll be a popular person with that in your backyard. Sounds like you got the tall one, too, the big guy.
It's a big one.
Good
It's a
for
big
you.
one. In-ground, too.
In-ground swim
We're
spa?
digging it right in.
Does it have the thing where you can do laps, but you're not actually doing laps? It'll send a current towards you?
Infinity. It's an infinity system as well. Yes. It's everything. It's a hot tub seating on one side. It's a pool on the other. It pushes. The science is very cool in it because you can literally sit and have hot tub jets, but it doesn't push you on the other side. The way that the jets are set up and arranged, you can swim normally on one side like it's a regular pool. The other side is all about the jets. It's great.
Those jets are so good. When you're cold and you jump in that hot water and the snow is coming down, but you're warm inside. Oh, Kat, I'm jealous.
You can boogie board too. Next time you come on by, we'll put the boogie board in.
I don't think I want to go in your swim spa.
No, you don't want to do the boogie board?
I don't think so. I'll sit on the edge and have a beer or something.
Does that sound like injuries waiting to happen?
It does.
Yeah.
Honest to God, it sounds like I would probably hurt myself. Good thing you're putting it in ground because trying to get in and out of those things sometimes can be difficult.
Yeah.
Let's, homecomings have basically wrapped up now on Ontario's university campuses.
They made a mark though, didn't they?
They certainly did. But you know what, though? I have a problem with this, and I'm going to explain it in just a sec. Police say 2 people were arrested and more than a dozen were taken to hospital for intoxication at a series of unsanctioned street parties that drew thousands of people to the area near Hamilton's McMaster University. They say there were as many as 7,000 people in the area at the height of homecoming festivities last Saturday. Police say they received 43 calls for service. Paramedics received 21. There were 3 tickets. So we had an army of cops respond to this street party, a homecoming party, to write 3 tickets and arrest 2 people. EMS took care of the rest, and nearest I can tell, they were all just overly intoxicated individuals.
Okay.
2 arrests, 3 tickets. How come police are so fixated, and they declared it a nuisance party as well. How come police are so fixated on busting students when they're just out having a good time, doing what I say is a rite of passage? Homecoming, if you go to university, and some colleges, is a big thing. Everybody looks forward to it. It's part of the university experience. Why are police so hell-bent on shutting those down? But if you want to run through campus burning a Canadian flag and chanting death to Israel, nobody seems to care. Why is it like that? Why are we going after kids who just want to have a party?
I know, because in their mind, and I hear you, I totally agree with you. In their mind, there's a difference there, a huge difference. One is just freedom of speech,
but it's not freedom of speech; it's hate speech.
I know.
Arrest them.
I trust me. I totally agree with you. But I think that's the only way that I can figure out why they care about one but not about the other. Or maybe they do care, but if they take action, they're afraid of those repercussions. I don't think they should be.
It's a fascinating thing. I don't know. I've never seen the police do this, but yeah, they're Vancouver police. This is not Ontario police, but people were burning the Canadian flag in Canada and chanting death to Canada, death to America, death to Israel. They were doing that and the cops didn't do a thing. Do they know that their job is to enforce the law? Because this is the law.
I don't know.
And if we're going to write tickets for mischief for people that honk their horn on Parliament Hill or set up a goddamn bouncy castle, I would think that this is a little bit worse and they should do something.
Totally agree with you. It's messed up to me.
Speaking of which, once again, I'm getting hammered with DMs. Every time they open up another one of these mushroom stores, the magic mushroom shops, people will take pictures and send it to me and say, how is this allowed? And I'm wondering, how is this allowed? We've asked this question before.
We've asked it to the chief of police in the Waterloo region anyway, when we chatted with him not that long ago, really. And I think that if I'm reading between lines, which I feel like you have to do, it does take a lot of paperwork in order to attempt to shut these places down. Is it too much manpower? I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what the chief said when we kind of casually asked.
Yeah. So basically what the chief said is there needs to be changes to the law and Crown attorneys need to be willing to go after these stores. In other words, police could go in any time and bust them, but they're not going to bother if they know the Crown is just going to drop the charges.
Got it.
I don't understand why any Crown attorney would drop the charges when we can, maybe there's some gray area, maybe about burning a Canadian flag in the middle of the street. But there's no gray area that you can't sell illicit drugs. You sure as hell can't open up a storefront, get yourself a nice POS system so you can take credit and debit, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
These look like the pot shops, but they're selling an illicit drug.
And they are everywhere. Those people who DM you are absolutely correct. I see it as well.
Why am I not allowed to sell cocaine? That's what I want to know. And I have no interest in selling cocaine. I've never even tried cocaine. Full disclosure. But it seems to be a lucrative industry. Those who are selling it seem like they're doing quite well. And I don't understand why someone can open up a storefront. How did they even rent a storefront without a business license from the city?
Yeah, I feel like, we've talked about this many times on the pod before, but it's one of those weird ones because you know that microdosing in a lot of ways, in a lot of cases, will eventually be legal here. They will, whether people like it or not, that will eventually be legal. But right now it's not. So it's a weird time where it's like, eventually it's like someone trying to sell pot at the head shops. That happened many times throughout the 90s, 2000s, didn't matter. Before it was legal here, it did happen. So it's one of those weird things where okay, eventually it's going to be legal. Unlike cocaine, which will never be legal here.
I don't know. We've taken steps.
God, I hope that's not the case. Like, I'm going to move so far away.
Well, I'm telling you.
That wouldn't help, I guess, either.
Well, number one, we have some lawmakers, and I'm not going to name names, but we have some lawmakers that are very, very big fans of the coke. And I'll leave it at that. You can do your own research. However, I think that there was generally a bit of a push to decriminalize, at least decriminalize, not necessarily legalize, but decriminalize some illicit drugs, if not all illicit drugs. And that seems to be getting pushed back on. In BC, they tried the safe supply stuff and it didn't work. Like, they asked to get out of that federal government program. So they're not in the business anymore. But Ontario hasn't officially said we're out. And I don't know if they're going to allow storefronts to open up selling illicit drugs. I think that we have to apply the law evenly. I think anybody should be able to open up a store or just set up a shack at the end of their driveway and sell other illicit drugs. Mushrooms will probably be legal, and I don't see why they're illegal at this point, much like marijuana. Marijuana, they used to tell you it was just as bad as heroin. That's not the case. We sell it now. Everything is good. Magic mushrooms, I'm told, has a very similar medicinal effect. I've never tried those either, but I got to admit, I'm interested. If there's that many stores opening up selling it, I kind of want to try it.
It's easy to get.
If the police are just going to let it happen because it'll eventually be legal anyway, I think that sends a terrible message to drug dealers that are considering going legitimate. Look at that. There's a building over there for lease. If I went over there and said to them, I want to lease this building and sell some illicit drugs that are illegal in Canada, there's a 50-50 chance they might rent it to me. They might just allow me to take over that lease.
As long as the bills are paid for them. They don't care.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe.
I don't know if this is a police problem or if it's a government problem or a crown attorney or a judge problem, but somebody's got to figure it out because right now it doesn't seem like we're on a level playing field here. The pot shops, fine. I think we could make some more changes there. I think they got to take the paper off the windows and stop having to block it. I'd also like to not have to walk under a velvet rope every time I go in to buy something and flash my ID. It's pretty obvious that I'm over 40 years old. And frankly, I don't understand why I have to do a goddamn somersault to get into the store.
It is funny, isn't it? Mind you, they do. I will say that at least anyone that I've ever been into loves the one-on-one, though. They don't want you to come in when someone else is there browsing because they want to take their time with each person.
And they're good at it.
And they're good at it. And
really
I do
good.
appreciate that because sometimes I go in and I buy things for other people. I if anything, will every now and again, edible, fine, whatever. I don't smoke it, whatever, but I'll buy it for other people. Or if people are coming over, I want to have it available if they want it. And so sometimes I really don't know what I'm talking about or looking for. So I actually enjoy that one-on-one. I bought just CBD for people before too who've never tried it. So I'm like, you got to try the CBD gummies, which are pretty readily available. Anyway, I love that one-on-one though. So I can say, here's the deal. I want something where XYZ. And they're like, I can tell you that this brand is good and that and that. And they take the time. So I don't mind the waiting behind the velvet rope. I have the exact same setup at my local one. But I don't mind it.
But they used to open up the velvet rope. Now it's like, oh yeah, your ID's fine. And they just walk away. Like, do I get the velvet rope or do I have to hop over it? Or what do I do here?
Open it for you?
No.
That's rude.
It's just another, it's kind of ridiculous that rope would ever hold anybody back. It doesn't. It's just sort of there to keep you there until they can check your ID. I thought that it was part of the invitation process. Oh, thank you for being over 19. Here, come on in.
Is it the same rule that would apply? Like when you're buying liquor, if you're smashed, they're not going to sell liquor to you, right? Is that right at the LCBO? Like if they know that you're smashed?
They're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to. Okay. Does the same rule apply if they think that you're high as a kite at a pot shop? Because
I've gone in there pretty high and they didn't say shit.
Right? Like one time when I was in there, a guy came up right behind me and he reeked to high heaven. And the guy was just like, let him in. And I thought, that's interesting because I think with liquor sales, you're not supposed to. I know you're certainly not supposed to serve at a restaurant, but you're not supposed to serve at the LCBO. And not to mention, you got to keep your eye on, did they drive here or not? Because you got to call 911 on them.
Thank you. And I don't know that that's going on. I'm sure people that work in pot shops and at the liquor stores and such have had people come in to purchase more alcohol or tobacco, and you can tell just by looking at them or smelling them that they shouldn't be driving. But do they call the police that there's someone here who's intoxicated or impaired and they're about to drive away?
They're supposed to.
I don't see that very often. Is that part of Smart Serve? Like that you have to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I had the craziest, I don't know if I've ever told this story on the pod, but back in my restaurant days, there was a woman actually that worked, this was actually at a work event at the restaurant, okay? So we closed early. It was a woman we worked with who clearly had an alcohol problem. So she was enjoying the open bar that was available to her. So we took her keys, realizing she drove to the place. And she wanted to and begged to drive home. And the boss at the time was like, absolutely not. I will call you a cab. Called her a cab. This is how diabolical this woman was. She went to her house in the cab so that the cab driver could report back, yep, she's home. She called another cab. Got the cab to pick her up at her house, bring her back to the parking lot to drive her car home.
No
So
kidding.
we had surveillance, and I know she got fired, but I don't know what else happened to her, considering she drove drunk. But yeah, I mean, you're supposed to take all the required steps to make sure that these people don't do it, because it's on you. We've seen restaurants lose their liquor license over it, and it's definitely not worth it at all.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would take a chance when that is your bread and butter. That's your business, the license to run that business. Okay, I could talk about pot shops all day. There's a whole bunch of things we need to do to improve that system, but we'll get there. I do want to switch, though, because there are a couple more things I want to get to. Today, Diddy is going back in front of a judge to try and get bail. He's been in custody since September 16th. Today, he is going to appear before a Manhattan federal judge. What's interesting about this one is the judge he goes before today is the judge who's likely going to hear the trial. This judge can have the final say on whether or not Diddy gets bail. And Diddy seems to think he's got a very compelling argument for why he should be released. He says it's crazy that anybody would consider him a threat. So again, I would just like to remind people, when they opened up the Diddy tip line, 12,000 calls came in the first day. For him to plead not guilty is an egregious waste of American taxpayer money. They're going to have to go through this massive trial, re-traumatize victims, and so much more. And there's an overwhelming amount of evidence to suggest that, no, he shouldn't be out.
He's a flight risk. As they mentioned, the first 2 times he tried to get out, he is a flight risk.
But he seems to think, oh, well, if I give him my passport, I can't go anywhere. That's not true.
We don't believe that for a second. Do you know how many chartered planes this guy could whip up in a second with the right people, or the wrong people, really, getting the right amount of money? That's the sad part. He's got a lot of dough. We know that. Especially after we heard from Jaguar Wright, who said, and this is all alleged, okay, all alleged, but if he really did sell a tape, one specific tape for $500 million on the black market before all this went down, and off the record clearly, then he has a lot of money at his disposal to get away. He's offering $50 million to get out, to be out until the trial, which would be probably in the spring, we learned recently. I don't trust that for shit. If he could be hiding all kinds of money with multiple people and be able to get away. With the right amount of money, you can absolutely do it. He's scary. He would be intimidating. He would have people on his side, which is the other scary part that will likely be a part of this trial, inevitably, or maybe the other lawsuits that are supposed to be filed. We'll talk about that too. I pray that this judge in this case says no for the 3rd time and never, ever try again.
I don't think he's going to be successful in this application, but one thing I would say is some people would suggest he's not a flight risk. If he hands in his passport, he can't go anywhere. America's a massive country, and there's a lot of places to hide until the heat dies down and people kind of forget what you look like. The other option is there's a lot of people crossing into America over the southern border to try and get whatever they're looking for in America, work permits, the whole 9 yards. To be honest with you, I'm considering doing it myself because they won't let a Canadian cross at Niagara Falls and say, hey, I want to come and live here and work here. They'll kick you out and they'll probably revoke your privileges to go there. But if you cross on the southern border, you get checks and hotels and all sorts of stuff. It's wild. What's to stop it from working the other way? If you're a fugitive on the run, why wouldn't Diddy fly into Texas, which he could very easily do, and just cross the border into Mexico, and then we'll never see the guy again?
Yeah, this is why the judge just cannot let this guy out. So as we record, yeah, he isn't there yet. He isn't in court yet, but this is where we're at.
Couple more quick things before we go. I think this is going to be a slightly shorter episode today because I'm thinking Dave is going to come in tomorrow and we'll have to go a little bit longer for the long weekend. We can't leave people hanging there,
And
right?
not being in the podcast studio is not really fun for us on a technical end. I'm not going to lie to you guys.
I totally agree. Powerful solar storm hitting Earth right now. They say it'll hit us today and tomorrow, which means, hey, the northern lights are going to be beautiful again tonight in Ontario. The problem here is that these solar flares, they keep saying that they can take out radio signals and power grids here on Earth. But we've had a lot of solar storms recently, and it hasn't happened yet. I'm wondering, when is the big one coming? Something eventually is going to fire out of the sun, and they say it will basically take Earth completely offline and maybe disconnected from the grid altogether.
Yikes.
I know, it's not very exciting, is it?
That doesn't sound good.
I don't know. When you look at all the ridiculous stuff going on in the world, sometimes I feel like we could all use a little reset from each other, a reset from social media. If we all had to just sort of rough it in our own homes for a couple of nights, that might not be the worst thing. How many people still remember the great blackout of, was it 2005, I think? 2004?
Something like that. 3, 4.
Anyway, it was a great big blackout.
Yeah.
Everybody got together with their neighbors on the street. They were barbecuing and trading meat that was about to thaw, and they had to use it up. It was a great time. Now, I'm not willing on a solar storm to take out the grid here on Earth. I'm just saying that as an unintended consequence, this might not be the worst idea.
Not the worst.
We'll see where it goes. Gas went back down 3 cents a liter this morning. The reason I mention that is I follow gas prices so meticulously because it drives me crazy the way it fluctuates. And in the last week, they've jacked prices 10 cents a liter, all because they were worried that there might be a war in the Middle East. That hasn't changed. There still might be a war in the Middle East, but what started happening now is the price of oil continues to drop. So as the price of oil drops, they were raising our prices way higher than they needed to, and now they've realized it, hence why we had a 5 cent increase the other day and a 3 cent drop the other day, or today. That's not fair to the people who filled up because, prices are going to keep going up because there might be a war in the Middle East.
I know. They'll never reimburse either.
No, people who actually listen to them. It's like the Bank of Canada argument all over again. Bank of Canada said interest rates will remain low for a long time. So people took out mortgages and then they screwed them. It's the same thing going on here. Why can't we just say a barrel of oil costs this much? And from a barrel of oil, we can fill up 500 tanks of gas. So we're going to sell oil for $70 a barrel. It works out to like 50 cents a liter or something like that. Why can't we have clear, transparent pricing? Why are we still in 2024 basing the price of gas and oil, something we all need, on speculation and nonsense happening on the other side of the world that has nothing to do with us?
That's a great question.
People get fired up about gas prices, and if you're one of
know.
them, I'm right there with you. It drives me crazy.
It's annoying.
The, what do I want to do here? Oh, Spirit Halloween.
Haha.
Spirit Halloween
love
is
this.
brilliant. They have made a great business model out of only being open for about 6 weeks a year in many different locations. They'll go in to businesses that have gone out of business, or they pulled a flyer, or they just moved out, and the plazas are desperate to rent out those spaces. So Spirit Halloween comes in and says, we don't want to rent it full time, but we can buy you a little time here. Give us a favorable lease, and we'll move in from September until November and just sell Halloween stuff. Plazas love it because they get a little bit of rent that they weren't expecting, and it's good for Spirit Halloween because they sell stuff. But what if Spirit Halloween decided, you know what, we're going to open up in September, and we're going to stay open till December, end of December. And we're going to do Spirit Christmas from November 1st until New Year's.
It just makes sense. Like, they're already there anyway. They're already leasing the building. They have employees who, some of which are going to be like, yeah, I'll be, even though I'm a seasonal fall employee usually with you guys, I'll be seasonal right up until Christmas. That sounds good.
Spirit Halloween is stupid for not doing this incredibly good idea sooner. 10 Spirit Halloween locations initially are going to switch over to Spirit Christmas stores featuring things like holiday inflatables and decor, apparel, stocking stuffers. There's going to be photo ops with Santa all the time, and a life-size gingerbread village that you can actually walk through. On top of that, there's going to be letter writing stations where you can bring your kids to write letters to the North Pole and all that sort of stuff. This is going to be more popular than Spirit Halloween, Spirit Christmas.
I think so too. I was just thinking of you saw the SNL skit. It was like it wasn't this past weekend, it was the weekend before about Spirit Halloween.
No.
Did you see it?
I didn't.
Oh my gosh. They did such an incredible job of talking about Spirit Halloween. I'd play it for you, but it's like a couple minutes long. I don't know if we have the time. But basically, they alluded to that being a thing. Like, why not just do the Spirit Christmas? But they make fun of it. Go look up the skit. It's really, really, really well done. But lo and behold, here we are. It is happening. I think it's brilliant, though. It makes sense.
Good. Yeah, we need more of that stuff. People like Kat need places to go for that little gray area between Halloween and Black Friday.
Yes, please.
This is for you.
Yes, please. I want to get more stuff for my Christmas village. There's things I'm going to say need, but I don't need. We all know that we don't need it. We just like it.
The Toronto Maple Leafs had 47 shots on goal, and not one of them went in the net last night. We're not off to a good start, Kat.
No, we're not. We'll see how tonight goes.
Friggin' Maple Leafs, Kat. Oh, my God.
I know. Everybody needs to go. Like, here's the thing, though. It's going to happen. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. Can we just understand that?
I don't want to understand that.
That is what we have to understand.
I want to be unreasonable.
Every game can't make you either super excited for the Stanley Cup or super mad that they're going to lose everything. Like, we have to just toe the line with all these teams, all of them. Hey, whether you're a fan of the Habs or the Leafs, doesn't matter. We got to just toe the line here.
There was one more Christmas thing I wanted to mention, and we'll go out on this. Okay. Did you see the new Netflix Christmas special?
Yeah, this is shocking to me, actually. I think more so the cast.
Yep. The folks over at Netflix, I don't know if they undercut Hallmark, because usually Hallmark Channel is the one that creates these fairly low-budget, cheesy Christmas movies. However, Netflix has bought one. And this one is going to be about male strippers. Let me read you the premise for The Merry Gentleman, which premieres on November the 20th. A big city girl travels home for the holidays to find that her parents' small-town entertainment venue is in financial trouble. Her solution? an all-male review. It features Chad Michael Murray.
I know, where's he been hiding? And by the way, there's for those who are already like their ears are perking up because they're One Tree Hill fans or whatever, there are photos. People has the exclusive photos if you want to see some still shots of what that looks like.
Chad says this isn't your standard formatted genre piece for the holidays. It's something to get a little hot and bothered under the collar, which is great. But the romance is there and the sparks are flying. We've got some great comedy beats in there that you're going to laugh out loud to.
Yeah, good. Fine.
Male strippers for Christmas. I didn't have that on the bingo card.
Ho, 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 candy canes. There's a bunch of little things that you can slip in there that just make sense.
Whenever they release like a Magic Mike movie, I know that there's some groups of girls, for example, that'll get together and get everybody, and we're all going to go out for drinks and go to the movie, and then we're going to have some more drinks afterwards, and we're going to watch the strippers. Will this happen with a Christmas movie? Are you inviting your moms and your aunts and shit over to come and watch Chad Michael Murray pull his pecker out on television?
Me? No. But I can see it happening. And I don't think it's full-blown pecker, is it?
I don't know. I mean...
What is it rated? Does it say?
They call it an all-male review. So I don't know if they're going to be going right down to nothing.
I think it's just like a sexy thing. You know what I mean? It's not meant to be like, it's not porn. Right? Or is it? Like, I don't know. I didn't look into it.
Should the holidays be that much of a turn on? I don't know.
The holidays can be a sexy time. I guess to each their own.
Gotta roll, everybody. Have yourselves a fantastic Thursday. Tomorrow, we kick off the long weekend with a brand new episode of After 9.
Bye, friends.
Domino's has announced it'll relaunch its emergency pizza program. Although, what kind of emergency requires a Domino's pizza? Yeah, help, I'm super stoned and I forgot what drywall tastes like.
More than 129,000 Ram trucks are being recalled due to faulty turn signals. Yeah, meanwhile, Kia is like, whoa, your car's turn?
The New York Jets have fired head coach Robert Saleh. Wait, you're telling me this whole time the Jets had a coach?
Uber is now offering shuttle rides from Manhattan to LaGuardia Airport for $18. Ooh. Huge news, yeah. Uber has finally invented the bus.